Hello and welcome to the Rested podcast, where we explore travel time rather than destinations and the joys and surprises of shared transport. My name's Mark Selby. I love the theatre of travel, discovering the stories of journeys and learning how people use their travel time. In Sri Lanka, the train ride from Ella to Kandy is memorable. Finding where to wait on the crowded platform for reserved seats was a challenge, but once on board, the mood was festive. Passengers turned the small dining car into a club, with music, lights and dancing. They opened the doors and hung out of the train for selfies as we travelled round the mountains, through the great tea plantations and jungle. We passed waterfalls and neatly manicured tea plants. It was different to the fields of Hampshire in England. I wish I could describe the flora better, but my ignorance of vegetation is profound and long held. It was painfully exposed when I visited Liz's family home for the first time, an idyllic English cottage in the New Forest. Liz's parents were keen gardeners. By contrast, my youthful knowledge of plants was non-existent. Her father took me for a walk in his garden, and we chatted. The views across the River Avon were wonderful. The colours of flowers and vegetation were spectacular. At one point, we paused by a row of small plants, and I was keen to show my genuine interest in his achievements. The actual words I uttered were, "Why are you growing this row of Christmas trees?" The response scarred me for life. "No, Mark, those are carrots." It's claimed Otto von Bismarck said, "Only a fool learns from his own mistakes. The wise man learns from the mistakes of others." I can only say that I've enjoyed meeting so many wise people. Standing beside those carrots, the father and I laughed. We became dear friends, and I married his daughter. It's strange how we remember things. Those memories that we can access instantly, and those that we seem to prioritise. How short-term memory can fade with age, but long-term memories remain vivid. Though, as I never learnt the names of plants when I was young, it's hardly surprising that my ignorance has persisted. Sometimes our memories are selective or just odd. I seem to have a mild form of prosopagnosia, or face blindness. I often fail to recognise people by their faces. My memory is triggered by their voices, their stories, or even the way they walk. If you know me and I seem to ignore you in the street, please don't be offended. It's not intentional. Thankfully, my apparent condition is not as bad as the man who mistook his wife for a hat that Oliver Sacks wrote about. I wonder if this slight face blindness has encouraged me to talk so often with complete strangers. If it has, I'm grateful. So many of the conversations are interesting, rewarding, inspiring, and entertaining. I've met a lot of former strangers on my travels. Some of the train journeys in Sri Lanka are incredible. We took the coastal line from Colombo to Mirissa. The line was the scene of a tragic rail disaster in the 2004 tsunami. The heroics and humanity demonstrated by survivors in the aftermath were extraordinary. The rebuilt railway sits just behind the beach for long stretches. It's hard to imagine a tsunami when the waves are gently lapping the shore. The train arrived at Mirissa station. We hoped to find a taxi that would whisk us to our hotel. Dream on. We had 2 20-kilo suitcases, 2 backpacks, and hand luggage for 3 months' travel, through 4 seasons. We weren't travelling light, and I'm certainly not a small person. We walked off the platform onto a rutted dirt track, where a couple of tuk-tuks were waiting. If you've ridden a tuk-tuk, you'll know they're small, three-wheeled vehicles. The driver steers with a handlebar, and the passengers sit on a bench seat behind. There's a small area behind the bench seat for storage, but no access to it from the rear. But we discovered they're like Doctor Who's Tardis on wheels, seemingly larger inside than out. One driver wedged our big cases behind the tuk-tuk seat, then loaded us and our smaller bags onto the seat. The vehicle's forward movement, negotiation of holes, ruts, bends and slopes seemed to defy the laws of physics. But we made it. Even the driver seemed impressed. The variety and versatility of transport available to us is genuinely fun. We repeated this fully loaded tuk-tuk exercise several times in Sri Lanka. Arriving in Kandy by train, we showed another driver how the packing could be done. Kandy was chaotic. It was the last day of a festival at the Temple of the Tooth. The tooth, recovered from Buddha's funeral pyre, is a sacred relic. For 10 days, the casket holding the relic was opened for pilgrims. It was last opened 16 years earlier. Almost 500,000 devotees came on a single day to pray before the tooth. Queues had stretched nearly 10 kilometres. Residents of Kandy and the surrounding villages donated and brought food and drinks for the queuing pilgrims. Police commandos had closed streets for crowd safety, and we were stopped, 100 metres from our hotel. Disembarking, I asked the tuk-tuk driver how much we owed. His response was simple. "I can't take you all the way, so there's no charge." Despite my protestations, he refused to take money, smiled, and wished us well. Such acts of generosity encourage us to pass it forward. Sometimes the reverse is also true. If another driver pulls out in front of us or fails to give way, it's tempting to seek some hollow revenge later in the journey. Far better to take a lesson from the professionals, such as bus drivers, and show appreciation. Giving you a wave of thanks when you let them pull into the traffic will probably encourage you to give way to another bus in the future. It's simple. It's interesting how full-time professional taxi drivers often give thanks to other drivers, but part-time minicab drivers rarely seem to. At this point, I must show my own appreciation to the listeners who wished Willow a full recovery, especially from Switzerland where the accident happened. Thank you. She seems happier, but recovery will take a long time. And talking of time, Blair Somerville is the creator of the Lost Gypsy Gallery in Papatawe, New Zealand. The gallery is in a coach, converted by a former owner. Blair said a woman who'd been born in the coach visited one day. She had a photo of herself being bathed in a tub beside the coach. The coach is now filled with wind-up installations and toys that make you smile, such as fish that seem to swim, hands that keep trying to catch balls in the air, and wooden steps that rise and fall, enabling balls to be carried forward, then drop and return to the start. Buttons, large and small, invite you to press them. Some emit sounds. One made a small train begin a full circuit of the carriage at head height. The toys are small enough to hold in your hand. Blair is charming. He'd just been surfing. I asked what got him started. He replied, "I don't know. There are so many things to build. I've been doing it for 25 years and think I'm about halfway now." That is a long time. We discovered Blair and his gallery by accident, during an impulsive quest to find the world's best beef burger. It was formerly the Ferg Burger in Queenstown, praised by Ed Sheeran and others. But in a recent poll, Peake's Kitchen had toppled the Ferg Burger. Peake's is run by Tom and Nicole Peake, two chefs who grew tired of working for others. The burgers are prepared and cooked in 2 food trucks based in Papatawe. They're made with locally reared beef. The slice of beetroot is pickled with juniper berries, dill, pinot noir, and other secret ingredients. It's served on a perfect brioche bun with trimmings. The result? A gastronomic masterpiece, simply sublime. I'm salivating as I think of that burger, and I'm also delighted that so many listeners have tried and enjoyed the whipped feta dip from episode 13. I made it for guests this weekend. Enjoy your travels and see what you discover. Thanks for listening to the Rested podcast. Please subscribe for details of new episodes and tell your friends. I look forward to reading and sharing your travel stories. Please email restedpodcast@gmail.com. And my thanks to everyone that has contributed to Rested so far. Enjoy your travel time.